Hey everybody, it's Eric back on the Firewall today. Pops is over here doing more cleaning up. Today I'm going to start welding holes up. So I made a pattern here to go over this guy, as you can see. So we flanged this in the previous time we were working on this. So I'm going to go ahead and try and get that welded up and let's see how it goes. Alright, we got all that cleaned up. Some weld through primer on it. I ground all the stuff off the inside from the back. Patches here, again with weld through primer on it. And got to get 2 coats on that and then let it dry for a little bit and then we'll go ahead and weld it in. Okay, and again, for any of you who haven't seen my friend Pete's trick on how to make templates for these things, just take a piece of paper, hold it over the opening, take your dirty glove and just rub around the outside of it like that, and there you have a template. Okay, so got a big ass magnet back in here to try and hold that plate in place while we're working on it. Dave, I haven't heard from you in a long time. This is from Dave, stroke Firebirdable. That came from Dave. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and put the plate on there. Cut this out, I marked up. So hopefully that will fit in there where it's supposed to. You heard the magnet do its job. Ugh, good grief. That's about right, I guess. Okay, start welding that thing in.
Alright, we got arm protection, hand protection, head protection, leg protection. Try and keep ourselves from getting burned here. Off we go. That would suck. Nothing. That was good. Fight. Alright. Okay, we'll cool that off and see how we did. Okay, I don't know how well you can hear me with the welder sitting right next to you, but yeah.
So we're just going around here, tacking this in slowly. The bottom here didn't come out that great. The panel's sticking out too far here, but that's okay. It's way down at the bottom. No one will be able to see. So we'll just go around here a little bit more, and we'll grind this off, and so we can get in between all the welds. That's it.
You can leave it on. Okay. Very good. etc., etc.
Alright, so as we're going here, we're checking the levels and stuff as we go across. And this thing's pretty decent here. This way. The firewall is pretty jacked up over here. This had a huge dent right here that we had to work on. And now it's popped out too much. This area here. So we're going to take the shrinking disc to this area right here and try and get this to suck back in. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you see that high spot right here. So we got to get all this to come down. Alright, we spent a good 45 minutes to an hour, I think, with the shrinking disc and the hammer and dolly trying to get this thing as level as possible here. I think this is about as good as we're going to get. Don't think this thing's ever going to be level. It's pretty tough for a big flat piece of metal. But things are looking pretty nice, I think, here. So we ground down that first pass of welds. So now we're going to go back and go in between all of these, grind it down again, and hopefully that'll be the last pass. We'll see.
Alright, I've already patched this one. This is pretty much done over here. And this is how I do this. I put a piece of tape to hold the patch in there, and I have the backing plate on the back flushed right there, so I just tack it in there and then move it around a little bit as need be, but going along okay.
Alright, we'll show you where we wrapped up today. So I got these two guys done, this done. A few random little holes here and there. These guys, you pretty much have to do them all with the backing plates. I tried to do them without the backing plate, and it's explodamundo. So it's a little tedious, you know, because you keep having to move the plate around while you're working. But that's it for today. It's pretty flat. It's not great. I don't know how well you can see this here, but a bit of a dent right here where that corner welded and sucked in right there. So I keep having to pound that out and it keeps coming back in. This guy keeps popping out. I keep having to pop it back in. The shrinking disc didn't really seem to work all that well on this. It did clean this up finally. It took a long time. It's pretty good. Not so oil canny. Still a little oil canny in there, but I still have to weld these guys up, so when I do, that'll shrink a little bit, and then hopefully that'll take care of that. But it's getting there, so not too bad. So the next time I come out and weld, I should be able to finish all that stuff up. Then we'll fiberglass everything, and then move on to filler after that. So anyway, thanks everybody, and oh, actually, before I forget. Anybody knows about the vintage air systems? On this car, it comes with a big plate to cover up this hole, which I've already done. I don't have the vintage air yet, so I was just reading the instructions, etc. And there's 4 big-ass, ugly hex head bolts that they run through the firewall to hold that plate on. And I believe this one right here actually goes into the vintage air evaporator itself to hold it in place. And then there's a couple more screws that I think come up through the inside of the cowl here to hold it in. So it's only, I think, held on by 3 screws. Needless to say, I don't want to go through this whole process and have big hex head bolts poking out there. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting some threaded rod and welding it to the firewall here so I can put the vintage air unit on from the back. The vintage air unit itself is threaded for that bolt, so I'll have to drill that out and then just run the threaded rod through and put a nut on it from the back, but I think that'll be okay. But I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts on how to weld that up, because I can put the threaded rod in here and weld it from both sides and then shave it off here. I can't really put a nut on the back because the vintage air unit wants to suck up pretty tight to the firewall. So if I did put a nut there, it'd have to be really thin. basically the thickness of whatever that plate would have been, which is, you know, quarter inch, or not quarter inch, 1/8 inch, 1/16 inch, pretty thin. So I don't really know the best way to do that, and I don't want to buy the vintage air unit to dry fit it and do all that stuff, because again, I'm not going to use it for a long time, so it's just going to sit there and collect dust. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'd appreciate it if you could let me know. And I will talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.